then, this video I'll take you down to look at vintage 1980s Thames Valley lift logic. And this logic has quite a few weird things to it, and that's putting it mildly, because this logic's pretty odd. So, this is the early days of electronics. This is a very weird controller and does some very odd things, such as how it reduces the voltage on the AC supply. It pulses it using transistors, but it's not pulsing it into a new waveform like a variable frequency supply. It's just literally pulsing it to reduce the voltage. But that's okay for DC, because pulsing would have the other effect of reducing voltage down, because it's AC and there's a wave coming in. It's literally just directly pulsing it. That really bugs up the wave. It is weird. So yeah, let's start off by taking a look at a lift. This is a typical housing estate lift. This is probably from the 70s or 60s. It was modernised in the 80s, buttons were replaced in the 90s. It's fairly typical sort of housing estate lift, 1.6 meters a second. So then, up on the top floor, open up the hatch to go up into the upper plant room of this tower block. And from here you can see the water tank rooms. And as well as that, you can get out onto the lower roof area. So then back into the plant room I go, and up the second ladder up into the motor room. So then let's take a look at this weird logic. So start off with Thames Valley semi-relay controlled lift logic. So it's using relays for a lot of very simple functions, basically using circuit boards to do the more advanced functions. And what's weird is how it's got its modular circuit board design. It is odd. I mean, 80s, early days of circuit boards, so you can expect something a bit odd, but the way I've made it like it is so ridiculously over complex, especially for a lift logic, which isn't actually very complex in function. It's not a particularly advanced controller. It's pretty simplistic, but it's got such a weird, over complex design. It's pretty much the sort of thing that you get. We have some expert computer scientist who thinks he knows it all and makes this complicated design and all technical, and just really made a weird system. And the problem with this is, I doubt anyone would pretty much be able to work out how one of these circuit boards works now, unless they actually went through it completely from scratch, which isn't going to happen for something quite vintage. But despite that, these boards are still in operation, simply because the circuit boards are still available to be purchased, even though no one probably knows exactly how they work now. I can still purchase, so you can still maintain the system if the circuit board fails. The circuit boards themselves don't really fail that often, meaning you still have a lot of this logic about. So then, for the circuit boards, you have the three main boards on the left, which seem to be the control boards. Couldn't really explain quite how it works. Two of them say CPU on it. I don't get why it's two CPUs. I don't get quite how they all interact, because it's ridiculously unnecessarily complex. These are like your three main control boards that does a lot of stuff. The rest of the boards are floor boards, and you have two floor systems for each circuit board, and these slot in so you can add extra floors to lift, and each one of these circuit boards has like the floor system of measuring calls, remembering calls, working out which lift should serve for calls, which order and stuff. And you have two floors per each board, so if you have like a 10 floor building, you have 5 of these boards. So then, now to the more weirdly interesting bit, which is the circuit boards above. This is the AC voltage regulator, not frequency regulator, voltage, and it's pulsing out a voltage. So with DC supply, you pulse it, you turn the power off and on, and that will reduce the voltage depending on how much percent of the pulse is on, how much percent of the pulse is off. To do that with an AC supply isn't quite the same thing, because with variable frequency, you're taking the AC back to DC, then pulsing it back into an AC by emulating an AC wave. But this is older. This is before you actually had variable frequency, because this is back in the 80s, and it's just pulsing your AC supply. I don't quite get entirely how it works. In fact, it's doing it is weird because it's primitive, because it's pulsing an AC wave, and because it's a wave, just directly pulsing it, wouldn't that bugger up the wave? I don't quite get this. It's weird, primitive, and a bit stupid, and it makes the motors really noisy. Quite an interesting sound. Just listen to the lift motors when they start up. then let's now open up the back of the logic, and behind it we can actually see yet more circuit boards dotted around the place. They love their circuit boards when they built this. So then these lifts go 1.6 meters a second. Let's surf then.
You can have a door. You could probably ride with the door open.
Someone gets in.
I should let a passenger in. Go up.
Not me, so I look out when I see his bag.
Oh, okay. There's two levelling speeds on this. There's full speed, medium levelling speed, and a slice levelling speed. Some of old Thames Valley actually can do pre-doors, but not this particular one. It doesn't do anything intelligent. It just slows down when it reaches the set points in the shaft. It doesn't do like intelligent levelling or anything like it. It's no way. It's advanced. It's a pretty primitive system, despite the fact that the circuit boards themselves are overly complex.
I always knew it was there, but I didn't actually know what it did. Oh.